Hello and welcome to a Talk Lit Get Hit bonus chapter, the little book chats in between the big ones.
We'll talk about reading, authors, and have discussions with people who, like us, can't shut up about books.
We might get sidetracked and talk about literally anything else,
But this is a bonus chapter we wrote just for you. For our bonus chapter this month, we have the great pleasure of interviewing Australian author Nicole Crowe, who has been kind enough to join us and chat with us about her debut novel, The Washup. Nicole, hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you on Talk Lit Get Hit for what is actually our first ever interview with an author. Woo! So firstly, congratulations on your soon-to-be published debut novel. That's really, really exciting.
Thank you. Yes. It's exciting and terrifying at the same time. So I'm working through the terrifying phase. So like I said, this is my first foray into the world of book podcasting. So it's all very exciting and new. So I'm really happy to jump in with both feet.
Yay. Well, I don't know if we're here to sort of assuage your fears, but we thought we might start by putting you on the spot and asking you a little bit about yourself. So at the risk of sounding like the worst job interview ever, could you tell us a little bit about who you are? You know, what do you like to do in your spare time? What the heck is going on with the snake living in your backyard? We want to know it all.
Right. Yeah. So I live in Townsville, which is either far North Queensland or North Queensland, depending on where you want to stop counting. So I grew up on Magnetic Island. So the book is The Washup is set on Magnetic Island and in Townsville because, you know, that old adage, write what you know. So I guess it's true. And so I grew up on bordering a national park on Magnetic Island with my artist parents. And the island is only about probably 1,500 people. So it's kind of like a suburb of Townsville. You can get there and back. You can get there there's a commuter ferry. It takes about 20 minutes from the mainland. It's about 8 kilometres off Townsville. And it's a pretty wild place. As the full spectrum of humanity is present on that island. There's the hippies and the deros and the druggies and the professional workers and the environmentalists and the government workers and everything and everyone in between. So it's kind of a microcosm of, I guess, a bigger city, like a bigger village or city or whatever you want to call it. But you being from a really small sort of cut-off community like that, you really kind of know everyone's business all the time. And sometimes, you know, that's at a detriment to your life and your social life, etc. But it's a crazy place. It's 70% national park, and it is absolutely crawling with koalas. So I thought, well, what better place to set a book than the place that I know intimately, and also the place that is kind of pretty mental. So that was kind of the starting point for the Washup.
I read this book in a bit of a frenzy last week. I stayed up all night reading. I was very unfocused the next day at work. But for our listeners who haven't already read or heard of The Washup, could you give us a spoiler-free rundown of the book?
Oh, that's so hard. This is you'll have to forgive me. Again, since this is my first formal interview, I haven't got a lot of practice with giving a sort of off-the-cuff synopsis of it because it is hard to break down a 300-page book into like a 2-minute soundbite.
The elevator pitch.
Yeah. So the central character is Eve, and so it's a sort of a murder mystery kind of story narrative. So Eve is a central character. She's about 30, and she's recovering from the death 2 years prior of her parents in a car crash on the highway. So she's wallowing in grief. She's a primary school teacher. She's real sweary. She drinks too much. Her life is kind of in disarray. She's living back in her old rundown house on Magnetic Island, just kind of wallowing in grief. And then a terrible skydive accident occurs. And so she's thrown into this kind of new situation of, was it an accident? That's upended my life again. I haven't even recovered from my parents. So she's a hot mess. And so she has some like unusual coping mechanisms. The whole book is like basically her trying to figure out how this crash happened, who's to blame, was it an accident, was it deliberate, while also ruining most of her life and social connections in the meantime. So the most interesting characters I find are the ones who are kind of hopeless. They're not like the standard detective whose job it is to solve mysteries. I really like the normal person thrown into this ridiculous environment basically I did really enjoy tormenting her. That's my sadist trick. So I threw everything I had at her, every sort of trial, every tribulation, every ridiculous self-imposed bad scenario that I could think of. I threw at Eve. And so yeah, it was really fun to write.
I mean, that's like our favorite books. We love reading books about sad girls where things are just happening and they're just trying to get through it.
Yeah, just trying to weather the storm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed it. I'm really like, that blows my mind. Thank you so much. I'm really glad. I mean, it was fun to write. I just hope that all the readers enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it.
I think it felt really like familiar to us. We're both 30. I mean, Laura's 31. She's older, but
Oh, I know.
I'm a teacher as well. Felt very familiar.
Oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Let's talk about the tandem skydiving, because until I read this, I wouldn't say, I mean, it's definitely something that I've found terrifying, but it's not necessarily something I would think of as a juicy hook for a crime novel. I read that it was your brother and his former career as a tandem skydive master, I think the word was, that inspired the Washup. But could you please tell us a little bit more about what it was that sort of drew you into the world of tandem skydiving? And maybe what was the research process? Like, how many times did you have to jump?
Oh, yeah. So my brother spent, I don't know, 10 or more years. That was his job. He was a professional tandem master. So he's worked around the country doing that job. It's very seasonal, so they do move around a lot in that sort of profession. And they're all wild, wild bastards. So there's loads of drinking. They're all adrenaline junkies. My brother is probably the most, I mean, he's sort of on the edge of adrenaline junkie, but some of the people that he worked with were like next level insane. So again, because I had beers with him because I would go and visit him and all of his friends were skydivers. That was what he did on a Friday night, hung out and got drunk with skydivers. So I got involved in some very strange conversations and I heard some very, very strange stories from all of them. And so I thought, well, this seems like a crazy, excellent premise for, a sort of a murder mystery kind of story. And I remember I was having beers with him and his boss. This was in Queensland a few years ago. And there's a dog in the book. I called it Camo, like for kamikaze. And this dog is based on my brother's former boss's dog. So I saw this dog. It was a little Jack Russell, and it was hiding under the table at the pub, and it was shivering and shaking. And I was like, "What's wrong with the dog?" And my brother was like, "Oh well, it's been in a couple of plane crashes, and the boss takes it skydiving, so I think it's probably got some serious PTSD." And he did. He strapped this dog to his chest and would jump out of a plane.
That poor dog.
Yeah. So my brother's boss was also the pilot of the plane a lot of the time. And my brother said, "Oh, and the dog does a lot of skydiving," which, probably doesn't want to do. Also, it's been in a couple of plane crashes because the boss has crashed a couple of planes. And then the boss piped up and said, "Oh, only one of those crashes was my fault." So just stuff like that, Just I heard so many stories and I hung out with so many skydivers that I was like, "You guys are insane. You have to be in a book." So, yeah, so the dog is taken directly from life. And I'm sure my brother's former boss would be really happy that his dog was featuring in a book.
It seems like an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd never heard of anybody skydiving with a dog before. And so my brother's partner also used to work on the phones, like in the little reception area for a skydiving company. And she said that people would ring out, like, tourists and people who wanted to do it, like a jump. People would ring up and go, "Oh, can I skydive with my cat?" And they were like, "We can't do cats. Cats are like, a cat's going to scratch the shit out of you if you jump out of it at a plane at altitude." But people would ring up with these insane, outlandish requests and, have to get knocked back. I'm like, who in their right mind would call up a skydiving outfit and say, "Can I jump with my cat?" It was just too good not to use.
Sometimes even if you touch a cat the wrong way, it'll just scratch you. So
yeah. Why would you want to fall out of it? It's like, I can't remember the speed that you fall out of the sky, but it's really fast. And I did do a skydiving once, as my brother told me when he was still working in the industry, because COVID ruined that industry. So he sort of quit when COVID showed up and retrained in a different area. So for years, he was telling me that he wanted to take me for a skydive. And one year he bought me a skydive. He said, "I'll pay for your skydive for your birthday." And I was like, "I really don't want to skydive. I'm not interested. That sounds horrifying." So I put it off and put it off. And then my mom, my like 70-year-old mom, did a skydive attached to the front of my brother. So after she did that, I was like, well, shit, I can't get upstaged by my mom. So now I have to do it. So I did it, and it was terrifying. And I screamed the whole way down. Like by the time I landed, I was completely hoarse because I'd screamed my lungs to pieces. But I did it, but only so that I didn't get one-upped by my mum.
Totally fair. So you've already mentioned growing up on Magnetic Island in North Queensland, and we have read that you said that the beauty and strangeness of the land was another major source of inspiration. And I think that when we were reading, we really got a sense of that. We just before went on Google Maps and we had a look at Magnetic Island and went for a little walk around the island, and it was exactly as we pictured while we were reading it.
Oh, good.
The island was like a character in its own right. Could you tell us a little bit about the process of trying to get something that you know so well onto the page?
Well, that was kind of hard because, yeah, if you do know a place really well, it's kind of hard to put it into words in a way that other people can see it. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's quite a strange place. And the thing is, like, when I was a kid growing up there, I didn't really think much of it because it was just where I lived. And then as I got older and traveled and lived elsewhere, I sort of came to realize that it was a bit funky and odd, and the landscape was very different to most of, well, probably the rest of the country completely, really, because it's an island full of enormous granite boulders. Some of them are like 10 stories tall.
Wow.
Yeah, it is it's kind of an unusual landscape. So it's basically from the water, once you get close enough to the island to see the shoreline, it looks like somebody just threw a bunch of giant boulders down, and there's some pine trees sticking up amongst them. And it sort of reaches a peak in the center that's technically a mountain, so it's quite tall. The vast majority of it is completely uninhabited and probably uninhabitable because it doesn't have any standing water because it's granite. So when it rains, the granite's really porous, so that it doesn't hold water. So all of the water is pumped from the mainland in the undersea pipes. So there are beautiful sections of beaches, which is regular sand, but behind the beaches, it's just enormous boulders. And people go, I mean, there was an incident last year or the year before. It was all over I think at least the national media. There was a tourist who sort of just disappeared. He went for a walk, and there was months and months of SAS and cops and fire. Every single emergency services worker was on the ferry every morning from the mainland to the island to basically tramp all of the areas that they could access in this one particular bay, which is where it was suspected that he kind of went missing. And he hasn't been found, and I suspect that he never will, because my suspicion is that because there was some talk of maybe he was intoxicated because they found his clothes on a boulder and just didn't find him. So I suspect that he was a bit intoxicated, went for a wander up into the bush, and probably fell between some giant boulders and is still lodged there.
Gosh, that's so eerie.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing is that if that happened, which I mean, it's been a couple of years now and no one's heard anything else, he will almost definitely never be found. Unless the entire island gets developed and someone will find him in 500 years when they're trying to build a housing estate. But otherwise, that's it. It's just he fell between. It's like a crevasse, except boulders and warm instead of icy.
I think there's so many parts of Australia that are just so well suited for this sort of like thriller, crime, like horror setting.
Yeah.
It's just like everything's so spooky if you look at it in the right light.
Absolutely. And Magnetic Island lends itself really well, I think, to the crime genre because it is such an unusual kind of environment and landscape.
Yeah, this outside hostile force working against people.
Yeah.
You also have this really brilliant knack of capturing the essence of Australian humour and spirit without making it seem sort of gimmicky. And I think something we've found in Australian novels that we've read is that there's this really great undercurrent of things never being that serious. So we were wondering how you balance that kind of larrikinism, I guess, alongside such heavy topics.
Oh, well, I get bored easily. So my impulse when I'm writing is to just load it up with jokes. So there was plenty of instances where my publisher was like, that's a bit far. Maybe cut that. Maybe cut that.
They're dead, Nicole.
Yeah. There was a lot of guidance from the community around me that, publishing and early readers and that kind of crew saying, that's probably a bit much. Oh, you've taken it a bit far. So I did have to cut a lot out to make it, to amplify some of the sections of pathos. I did need a lot of help with that fine line balancing, pathos and humour, because it was a bit outlandish at places, and it's still quite outlandish. Some of the scenes, I was like, oh, somebody's going to make me cut this scene. But some of the stuff that actually they let through, I was surprised by. So yeah, it was a bit of give and take.
There were so many parts where I was like actively laughing out loud because I just thought it was so funny.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's really lovely, because you never know.
Also, so many parts where I thought, oh, I know that person, or I can picture that, like even the beat up Ford Falcon or the 4X singlet, or even just, I think quite early on there was a mention to John Grisham novels, which John Grisham isn't an Australian author, I don't think, but boy, do you see a lot of John Grisham novels at Bookfest, Lifeline Bookfest, at the op shop, on your granddad's bookshelves.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Grisham is a powerhouse.
Yeah. Perfectly captured.
Thank you.
This is a good segue, actually. So if we could detour for a second to talk a little bit about Australian fiction, we would love to know who were some of your favourite Australian authors, and if there were any that particularly inspired you during the writing process.
Oh, well, my go-to has always been lit fiction, oddly enough. When I was in my 20s, I was pretty obsessed with Peter Carey in particular. Loved him. Read all of his stuff. I was pretty into Tim Winton as well. So I'm like kind of one of those dirty people who were like, oh, I've read too much white men literature when I was getting started.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Aren't we all?
Yeah. And you read these, so-called sort of great authors that have been put on a pedestal, and you go, I want to write. So if I want to write, then obviously I have to write like this, because this is what the reading public wants. This is what publishers want to publish. So I spent a long time trying to emulate, the great white males of Australian lit. And then that didn't work out very well. I wrote some really shitty lit fiction, unpublishable monsters, Frankenstein monsters, but not good ones. And then I went, oh, that's not working. You have to. And then I was like, well, you're supposed to write what you know. So I mean, I have this ridiculous childhood on Magnetic Island with these boulders and all of that chaos. So I thought I should write that instead. And then finally, it started to work out, because then my work had a lot more authenticity than just trying to emulate the authors that I thought I had to emulate. But yeah, I do love a bit of Jane Harper though too. Obviously, yeah, she's my bag. But yeah, mostly I kind of read lit fiction, which I mean, I feel like I'm betraying my kind a bit. But yeah, that's kind of my go-to, lit fiction.
No, we love a bit of lit fiction too.
Yeah.
I like crime though, particularly because like you do work with a formula, but everything that you write, even lit fiction, has a formula. It still needs a plot, right? Even if it's a little bit buried, it's still got a plot in there somewhere. But I feel like crime fiction is such a broad church that you can have your weird stuff and your straight crime and your horror, and you can it's so all encompassing that you can pick, like there's so many subgenres within crime, so that you can sort of make your own mark on that genre as well, which I think is really, really nice. And I found it quite liberating. I found it much more liberating than lit fiction, because lit fiction felt like, every sentence has to be beautiful. But I feel like within genre, you have a bit more scope to have a bit more fun.
Yeah, you're just looking for something juicy and something engaging.
Yeah, and if there's some beautiful sentences in there as well, then that's bonus, right? But that's just the icing on the cake. I feel like it's more freeing working within genre as opposed to sort of the more highbrow kind of genre, which I was never very good at.
Well, speaking of highbrow, we have to come clean. We did do a little bit of online stalking of yourself, and we came across your thesis, which was incredibly impressive.
Which one?
Which one? Oh my goodness. We came across the narrative possibilities of humour in regional family memoir, I think.
Okay. Yep.
Which we thought was very appropriate. Yeah.
Oh, well, yes, thank you. Oh, guys, you found that. That's just, were you able to download it, or did you just see the kind of the abstract?
I could only read the abstract, I think, or the part where you spoke about going to the conference when you were presenting about Benjamin Law, but then I couldn't access anymore. So.
Oh, okay. Because like I'm really not happy with that thesis. But I mean, you're never really happy with. Yeah, because I did. So that was a PhD that I did a few years ago, and I did a memoir. It was based on my childhood growing up on the island. And yeah, when I was shopping it around to publishers, and it was a humorous memoir, and it was a series of like a collection of like linked short stories. And when I was shopping it around to agents and publishers, they all said, "Oh yeah, it's great. We love the island. Your voice is great. Blah blah blah." But it's not in the right shape. It's got to have that like 3-act structure shape. And so I spent a couple of years banging my head against that wall trying to rework it, and that didn't really. I couldn't figure out how to put it into the shape that it needed to be in. So it's in my bottom drawer. Maybe if I have a couple of crime novels out, then maybe somebody will want me to drag that out of the bottom drawer and
Yeah.
publish it. But yeah, I haven't looked at that in a few years, and yeah, I don't exactly know how available it is online. So
We didn't make it too far.
The part that I read, I enjoyed.
that's a surprise. It's a beast from the past that's emerged again. But that's cool. That was a fun thing to write too.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. Like, I have never written a novel and I've never written a thesis. I just can't imagine the process of undertaking either of those tasks. So, apart from probably, I imagine a thesis being quite unfun at times, how was the writing process different for those things?
Well, so the thesis that I wrote was a creative writing thesis. So for those types of PhD theses, you basically write the majority of a novel or a piece of nonfiction or whatever your project is, and then you also have to submit along with that an accompanying. They call it an exegesis. It's basically a long critical essay discussing some component of your craft, or a kind of a lit analysis of similar works. Or I mean, it's all very variable what you can do with a creative writing thesis. But I mean, I kind of enjoyed the process of that, particularly because I got a scholarship, so I got like a living allowance for a few years, which is a bonus if you want to do a big creative project. Somebody's paying your rent for you, which is important. But there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through within a university context as well, and there's lots of like conferences that you have to go to, and meetings that you have to have, and milestones that you have to reach, and lit reviews, and all sorts of stuff. So it can at times, it was at times, I felt quite restricted in what I kind of could do, because you also have supervisors that are there to help you and guide you, which is really important and necessary. But you don't have the same amount of complete freedom that you do when you're just doing your own project off your own back, which can be a positive and a negative, because if you do have supervisors saying, you told me last week you'd give me 5,000 words. And if you don't give them the 5,000 words, you have to tell them that you haven't done the 5,000 words, which is good to keep you on track. But if you're writing a novel and nobody's waiting to read it, or waiting for you to meet a milestone, then you can, not write that 5,000 words. So it's nice to have people on your team to go, oi, get your butt into gear, do it. Because it is hard. Like, writing is really, really hard. Any of the arts, project is really hard, because you're essentially kind of alone in your room, stabbing away at your keyboard, hoping that it's good, but you kind of don't really know. So it is nice to do a master's or a PhD in creative writing, because you have people around you who are paid to read your stuff and paid to help you to the best of their ability, which is really, really useful. And it's good training experience as well, just so that you can figure out how you do grit your teeth and organize your day so that you do write 1,000 words a day and get a full draft in a decent amount of time, rather than just spend 10 years kind of floating around in the dark and not producing very much and just disappearing into a puddle of self-loathing. Because that's an easy thing to do, right? As a creative, it's easy to fall into that trap. So it's nice to have people around you going, no, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah. So
Yeah, we feel that even doing this, I think, even just any small comment we get about enjoying an episode or a new follower, anything small like that is so motivating. But when we go through ebbs and flows where those things aren't really coming in, it's like, what is this all for?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you invest a lot of time and energy. So you kind of need some sort of reward, like if it's subscribers or if it's money or like accolades or whatever. You just need, it doesn't have to be much as well. Like, we have a really low bar, like
It's so low.
so occasionally somebody might go, oh, I read that thing that you wrote, or I saw that thing that you did. And it's so motivating. It's so buoying, because sometimes those comments are few and far between. So when they do come, you're like, oh, yes. And so it just gives you that extra push, to go that extra step and to keep going.
Something that we're always quite interested in is the process from that first seed of an idea to actually seeing the book appear on the shelf in bookstores. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey to publication?
Oh, it was long, very long, and very slow. Very slow. So first of all, I pitched my memoir. It was kind of a last ditch effort. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this thing. And it was like November a couple of years ago. So I just pitched it to every publisher and agent who had their submissions open in November, which is not many, right? Most of them are winding down for Christmas. So I just sent it to half a dozen publishers and agents. I didn't even Google them first. I didn't even know if they were like predatory publishers. I was like, fuck it. I sent it off to everybody that I could think of. And then kind of, Christmas happened and I forgot about it. And then a couple of months, like January or February the following year, I got a reply out of nowhere from some literary agent who I'd never heard of. And he said, oh, I like your pitch. I'll read the rest of it. And I was like, oh, shit. So I Googled him and I was like, oh, this guy's a big deal. Oh, God. So I sent him my full memoir manuscript and he read it and he was like, yeah, love the island, love your voice. Everything's great, but it doesn't fit the narrative arc. And I was like, oh, well, I already know that. And as he was trying to get me off, I felt like he was trying to get me off the phone. He'll probably say otherwise. While I was banging my head against the wall of the memoir, I was also writing this crime novel. So while he was saying, oh, I don't know if I can sell this because memoir's hard and no one knows who you are and it doesn't have like the big hook that publishers like, I was like, wait, before you go, I have a crime novel. You want to read the crime novel? And he went, oh, I guess so. So I sent him, it wasn't finished. So I was like, shit, give me a month. I need to finish it. So I madly finished it and then I sent it to him and he read it and he was like, oh, this is all right. This isn't too bad. It needs a little bit of, editing and stuff. So he worked with me for, probably like 6 months, a couple of drafts, editing it, getting the tone right, taking some of the jokes out, and then he started shopping it around and a few publishers said no. That process always takes ages. You can only really send it to them one publisher at a time, because they don't like it if you send it out to every single publisher at the same time. They don't like competing. So, probably half a dozen of them said no. And then he was just in the room with Pantera, who eventually picked it up, talking about a different client that he had, brought my name up in this meeting that had nothing to do with me, and said, oh, by the way, I've got this manuscript. And the editor there, or the publisher there, was like, oh, okay, I'll have a look at that. And then they bought it. So
Yay.
So it was a long and winding kind of journey. And the thing that I was originally pitching wasn't the thing that actually got picked up. So it's a very fickle, unpredictable, confusing kind of landscape, the publishing sphere, I've learned over the years. But so eventually it got there. It took years, but eventually it landed in good hands. So it's all very exciting.
That is very exciting.
Worth the wait.
We agree, definitely.
Oh.
If we could take this to a bit of a sillier place, I really have to compliment you on your point of reference for Matt. Young Richard Gere, sensational. What an amazing choice. What a hottie. I've been Googling. I mean, I had, Pretty Woman and some of those earlier movies as reference, but nothing to the Google Images results.
I know, right? I know. I love him. Honestly, Richard Gere and Harrison Ford. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harrison
Indiana
Ford and like Star Wars.
Oh,
good.
Yeah, Star Wars. I mean, that never gets old. That's just timeless.
No.
Timeless.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of Gregory Peck thirst sort of compilations on my social media lately, which has been a really, really nice treat.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring back all those old photos too. Black and white. Too good. Yeah. Honestly, if Richard Gere or Harrison Ford, I mean, they're like 70 something now. If they were like, hey, do you wanna like marry me? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean, they can still get it. I think like Harrison Ford, I sometimes watch his interviews and I'm like, doesn't seem to get any worse with age. He seems to get better.
Yeah.
So
he really does.
Yeah.
So
and I like his like grumpy persona as well.
I know.
So good.
We should all. I think he's married to Callista Flockhart. We'll have to hatch a plan to bump her off.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. You've got the intel with the crime novel.
Yeah. How can we get away with it?
popping off Calista Flockhart.
What about the other characters? Did you have anyone in particular in mind when you were writing any of them?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I think you see these author interviews and they're like, oh no, it's all 100% fiction and it's none of me in it and it's not based on anybody real. Those guys are either lying or they need some lessons in self-awareness. Like, I feel like you can't create a really good character in any form, even the side characters. The best ones are always based on somebody that you know and love or hate or whoever. So, yeah, they're all kind of based on somebody. Sometimes it might just be like somebody that I had a 5-minute conversation with in a coffee shop. But yeah, there's always the seed of a character idea in interactions with people around me.
Thank you for confirming what I've long suspected.
Ah, good. Yes. No, well, I mean, authors are all storytellers, aren't they? So they're all full of shit.
Yeah.
You can't believe anything that comes out of their mouth because they're all making it up.
Well, we're coming to the end of the interview, but we were wondering, what do you hope that readers will get out of the story?
Oh, I hope that they have a wild ride and learn a little bit more about Magnetic Island, and learn a little bit more about North Queensland, because I've discovered over the years that lots of people from down south come up here and they think that you can't drink the water. They think that you're going to get eaten by a crocodile or a shark or murdered by a jellyfish. And like those things exist, but they're not our biggest problems. We have problems far bigger than murdering Bob's jellyfish, and Bob Catter and all of the crazy political stuff that goes on up here. So all that stuff is very fun and interesting, but there are also other more fun and interesting stories sort of below the surface as well. So yeah, I mean, just to bring a little bit of awareness of and stories, like really interesting. We're not just a bunch of yokels up here. Like, we have regular lives, and our stories are just as engaging and interesting as any of the stories that come out of the metropolitan centres. So I hope that that's a takeaway as well for readers.
I think us down in southeast Queensland, we like to think we're like, real Queenslanders, but I think when people sort of step out of the Brisbane bubble, then there's lots of things to be learnt and lots of nice things to be seen as well.
A slice of humble pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I spent years living in Brisbane too, and the Brisbane bubble is really fun and it's really easy and comfortable to sort of get sucked in. And the thing about going north is that it's such a long way. So a lot of people, unless you really have a good reason to get up here, like you have family or you're going to a wedding or something like that, a lot of people don't make it this way far north, which is why, a lot of people down south think that you can't drink the water. Right. So we have all the same services as everybody else has. And I have to keep explaining that to people when I go down south.
How will Nicole get on the interview? Does she have internet?
Yeah. We have power and we have the interwebs. We have coffee. We have ground coffee. Like, it's probably not as
amazing.
Good as
probably coffee farms as well. It's probably great growing conditions.
Yes, on the northern tablelands, there's a couple of coffee plantations. So yeah, so we do all right up here. We're okay.
Yeah,
come visit, see some koalas.
Sounds good.
We never see any around here. They're all the trees are cut down, so we can't see any. So
exactly. Magnetic Island, I'm pretty sure, I mean, I may be wrong, but Magnetic Island has one of the largest per square meter populations of koalas in the entire country. The koalas are just
amazing,
kind of everywhere, to the point that they're a little bit annoying. So the Forts Walk that features in the Washup, that walk is basically you're guaranteed to see a koala in the wild.
Amazing.
Sounds like the place to be.
Yeah, you can't get away from them. They're like rats.
I also really want to drive the Barbie Jeeps around. So that's a big draw card for me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
No, they're fun. And the roads on the island are hectic because a lot of them are sort of it's quite mountainous. So a lot of the roads are really windy and lots of hairpin turns. And it's just a sheer drop into the water. So
okay. Boy.
Guardrails. So, but it is quite dramatic. The landscape and the roads are quite dramatic too. So yeah, come up, have a crack. You'll love it.
When's the best time of year to come? Like, what's the pick of the month?
Basically now, August.
Okay.
But winter, basically winter, because the weather is nice, because in summer it's just so hot you just want to die. It's like 35 degrees, 90% humidity every day for like 3 months. Yeah, and if you're lucky, you'll get a bit of a break, which is a monsoonal downpour. But yeah, June to September. Basically, it doesn't
Okay.
rain too much. The weather is lovely for everybody coming up from down south because it's about 26, 28 degrees in the daytime. Pretty
Lovely.
consistent, and because winter is not stinger season, so you can swim wherever you want. In the summer, the lifeguards put out these big square stinger nets, which are like a protective zone, so you swim inside them and the stingers can't get you. But they pull them in the winter, so you can swim on any beach that you want to. You don't have to worry about stingers, and there aren't so many mosquitoes, and there's not rain, and the weather is quite nice. So yes, definitely winter.
Sounds great. Lock it in, Laura.
Yeah,
We're
lock it
going
in.
next year.
Yeah.
Now, I know at the time of recording, your book hasn't been released quite yet. And I know we've talked about the memoir, but is there anything else new that you're working on that you're allowed to share with us, or are you just focusing on getting through now?
Yes, I'm about halfway through the next one. It's kind of based heavily on one of my former workplaces. So the real trick is going to be to not get sued if someone publishes it. But that's the publisher's problem, not mine.
Well, yeah.
It's going to be kind of like a bit of a revenge novel. You know that old saying, like, don't piss off the writers because you'll get your comeuppance. Yeah, so that's kind of my plan. I find
Yes.
revenge really motivating.
Amazing.
Us too.
There's just so much like fodder with workplaces.
Oh, totally. All the mental stuff that goes on at workplaces is just out of control, especially now. The bureaucracy's gone mad. I think it's wonderful fodder for any writer. So that's about halfway done, and it's all it's really good, and it's coming out really fast because I'm so motivated by revenge.
Number one writing tip: seek revenge.
I hope it's good, and I hope readers like it. If the publisher wants to pick it up, I hope that it's relatable, and I'm sure it will be for anybody who's worked in a white collar job.
Where can we find you online? Where would you like people to find you, follow you, stalk you like we did?
I set myself up an author Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and I tried to follow 950 accounts in about an hour. It totally shit itself and sort of started glitching, and I had to restart my phone, and I had to uninstall and reinstall the Instagram app like 4 times, and I think it's kind of kicked me out. So I'm going to have to do another author Instagram account like tomorrow.
That's so funny.
I'll keep you posted, because I sent them
Sounds
an email and said, I'm not a bot. Can I have my account back? And I haven't heard anything because, like, that's to be expected. So, I think I'm going to have to start a new account and just like not follow 950 accounts. I was just trying to be efficient, and it backfired.
Knock it all out in one go. Yeah, totally.
I know.
Fair.
So fail. Never mind.
Well, when you know, we'll put it in the show notes of this episode so that everyone can see where to find you.
Yeah, I will. I'll sort it out.
Is there a place for people to buy your books that gets you the most money?
Oh, I guess independent bookshops. They're always the best ones. Support independence, support the family business.
Fantastic.
I think whatever. I think it's going to be available in all of the major indies. So get down to your nearest indie and grab yourself a copy, and a copy for all of your friends and family.
Christmas is slowly creeping up. It's a great Christmas book.
Request it at your local library. Make them buy a copy.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Oh, likewise. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Nicole's book, The Washup, is out today, so head out to your local independent bookstore to pick up your copy. For our next episode, we are grabbing our passports and covering Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love. Have your say on what we read next by keeping an eye on the link in our show notes and on our socials. Make sure you subscribe to the show, and if you want to be on the same page as us, follow us at talklit.gethit on Instagram and TikTok.